What's up, y'all? Welcome to Conversation Piece with Patrick Armstrong. I am the titular Patrick, and this is a show where we talk about the missing pieces of the conversations we're already having. Shout out to our returning listeners, and a high five and hello to everybody joining us for the very first time. I appreciate y'all being here in 2024, the year of the nap. Before I jump into it, I really quickly want to shout out Mike Lee, who's sitting behind the camera right now, because if you're watching on YouTube, you've seen some dope intro coming in, and it's just got me hyped about everything that we're doing on the show. Thanks, Mike. I'm really excited about this conversation today. My guest today is a content creator, social media manager, and entrepreneur whose focus is on highlighting the city of Indianapolis for young 20 and 30-something folks looking for ways to explore, connect, and immerse themselves in the city. Through City of Shay and the recently launched Socials of Shay, she shines a bright light on this city in the best possible way. So without further ado, it is an honor and privilege to welcome Shay McCoy to the show.
Wow. When I redo my website, I'm going to have you just write.
You can copy and paste right into
I like
into the
that
DMs.
better. Mine sucks.
No, honestly, it's an amalgamation of different things that you've written, and I put it all together. So,
wow.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't know why I feel shy.
It's all right.
Like the opposite.
You just literally right before we got on mic, you said, I'm an extroverted extrovert.
I know. Yeah. No, that's true. I have to stop doing dinner with people because I go home and I'm like, let me call everyone I know. Let me call my mom.
Oh, and you talk about it?
I need to talk to more people. I'm recharged.
I'm not gonna lie, my wife is the same way. She's like, so she's been a teacher, and every time after school, she always has to call somebody. And then once we got together, it was me.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh, there's a lot of more things that you've already done and talked about that you want to talk about.
And everything needs to be said. I have every thought just comes out. There's no thinking about what it is.
Do you find yourself ideating in that way for the work that you do? Just kind of the stream of consciousness. Oh, there's a good idea. Let me pull
kinda, it. Yeah. I have a lot of notes on my phone. I use Notion a lot. So I just put everything in there. But yeah, I'm a certified yapper for
I've heard a lot of great things about Notion. I am still in a notes app. Okay. I don't use it for apologies like most people use the Notes app, but there are just tons of things there that's just one-off ideas.
Yeah. No, I maybe have 20 notes.
Okay. Just 20. That's not very much.
I know. It's the
you're
books I've read.
The note, probably.
Yeah. But the Notion is deep.
I'm going to have to log into that.
Perfect.
Notion, sponsor the show. It's been a minute for us trying to connect.
Yes.
I'm going to say something that I hope doesn't come off creepy, but you frequent Needler's grocery store. I don't know if you live around there.
Yes, I love Needler's.
My wife and I see you in Needler's often, and I've been too shy.
That's where I am.
I've been too shy to come up and say hi. I'm like, she's doing her own
I have
thing.
told people I want to make merch that says only hot people shop at Needler's, not because of me, but because every time you go in there, everybody's very beautiful.
I mean,
it's a beautiful caliber of people.
It is. I mean, I don't know why,
Whole
but
Foods
it
are
is.
The parents.
That's true.
But it's they're gorgeous, gorgeous people at Needler's. And they have lemons everywhere, on their branding. And
That's
I have a lemon thing.
You got a thing for lemons?
I have a lemon kitchen. I see lemons everywhere. Maybe because I'm at Needler's all the time.
That might be. You see lemons. What's the
It's
strangest thing that you envision as lemon?
The what?
What? I don't even know what I just asked. What is the most out there thing that you visualize as a lemon, or the most random place you see lemons?
I don't know. I see them on people's tattoos a lot.
Interesting.
I'll just be walking around being like, that's a lemon tattoo.
This is an interesting conversation.
It's a thing I see a lot. It's my angel fruit, not my angel number.
Okay, I like it. I've never heard of angel fruit.
Oh yeah, well, it's happening.
But I'm here for
They're
it.
lemons.
Anyways, okay, getting the creepiness aside, I'm really glad that we've been able to sit down. I've been following your work for maybe 2.5 years now, and just really inspired by what you do in the city and the way that you're just I'm going to put you on, and just finding ways to highlight some of the hidden parts of the city. So I'm excited to talk about that today.
Sweet.
But I gave you an introduction, shared a little bit about you, but for folks who are listening or watching who don't know you, do you mind sharing a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. I mean, you said it very well, better than I would have actually. City of Shay is a local lifestyle. I say resource and guide. Most people just say influencer, which is fine.
Local resource and guide is great. That's better than anything that I just said.
It's better than influencer sometimes, depending on who you talk to. So I just, I help people find things to do in the city. I always say live a full life within their means. I may talk about things that are a little more expensive or a little more cheap, but I feel like affordable is very subjective. So what 100%. You think is affordable is different to me. So I love kind of covering a range of things like that. I mostly do a lot of event roundups. I mean, I have a newsletter, a YouTube channel, Instagram, kind of everywhere
host
I can
meetups.
touch.
Yeah.
Meetups, events, because I love people.
Yeah. I mean, you're just frequenting events.
Yeah, I kind of just don't shut up, which is great. Because that's how it all kind of started. I like actually moved to Indy for a master's in museum studies.
Okay.
So I moved here when I was 20 for that from Iowa. And when I finished up my degree in 2019, I applied to like 300 jobs and didn't get any of them.
Damn.
Maybe got like 5 interviews. It's a very niche field.
Sure.
So now I say I'm a digital curator instead of an actual curator because I gotta like justify paying that much to go to school for that.
Sure.
And my friends were like, you don't shut up in person. Like, what if you just tried that on the internet? Because you seem to like the internet as well. Because we had to make portfolios on Wix during school, and I was the only one having fun. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, we could like have our own colors and fonts and like.
You're like helping people make
no,
theirs.
they were like trying to pay me to do theirs because they're all like, I mean, they're very museum people. They're like, what capitalistic crap is this? And I'm like, this is kind of fun. Actually,
I enjoy it.
I'm having a great time, and I was like, that's where it started, I think.
All right.
So Night at the Museum is where it began, but
sure. I mean, it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if you can find your passion in doing that type of work, like the homework pieces of it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is probably something that I should think about.
And I love homework. Like, I think that's why I started blogging, because I wanted to give myself like deadlines and assignments.
You and my wife need to be friends.
I went to school to be a teacher for like a week.
Okay.
And then I was like babysitting other people's children. I don't know about that.
It's a lot. She's an 8th grade teacher. So it's like
her.
Preteen, getting into the teens.
Awkward.
It's wild.
Just awkward.
It's wild. She loves it though.
That's great. Yeah.
So you moved here from Iowa to go to college. What was that transition like for you?
I mean, I'm not from like a farm, so let's just get that out of the way. Because most people are like, oh, you grow potatoes. I'm like,
sure. That's the same thing for Indiana.
Yes.
It's like if you don't say Indianapolis, people are like, oh, so you grew up in the fields.
Right.
Corn.
Yeah, I grew up in Cedar Rapids, so like very decent sized city. But definitely moving here, I was like, oh, this is the big leagues. Like, I'm here. And for someone going to school for like such a specific thing, like to have a city that like, I mean, they just posted that it's got second to DC, the amount of like monuments and historical sites for veterans and things. So it's like, there's just so much history. And I feel like we're actually really good at telling our history. There's signs everywhere about like this corner was this building. Or like we've got Samson like walking around telling us what's
Samson.
what. So I just feel like there's a like really good flavor of like people telling their history and like wanting to share their story here. So that was really exciting when I moved here. But then, I mean, 2 years passed and you're like, well, I thought this was going to be like a stop along the way. I thought I'd end up in DC or Chicago, like the Field Museum or Smithsonian. I'm still here. Yeah. I love it. And I kept hearing people be like, oh, it's so boring. I hate it here. I'm like, okay, I felt that way about Iowa. Yeah. And I still kind of feel that way about Iowa. But I get like being from somewhere and not liking it. But I also get being from not somewhere and falling in love with it. So it's been really exciting to kind of like share more with people. I think not being from here helps a lot. Because I think I see it in a different perspective and appreciate it a lot more. Yeah. But I mean, I started doing just like fashion stuff because that's all I saw too. It was like the North Side bloggers talking about Nordstrom and Gucci bags. And I was like, I go to, Goodwill to get my red Vans today.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't really link those for you. So now what? And I just kept hearing that rhetoric of like, it's so boring. And even through grad school, like we had so much fun. We did trivia at the Tap for 2 years. Like every Wednesday. We went to German Fest. Like we just had every chance we could to like go do something. We found something to do. Yeah. And so I was so confused why people kept saying it was boring. And I just kept trying to look for more things to do since a lot of my friends stayed in town at like the art museum or the children's museum. And I was like, well, I don't see really many people talking about things to do or places to check out. It's just, the Northside blogger taking a cute picture in a really cute coffee shop. Right. And then in the comments maybe saying where it's at, but it's not the focal point. And I thought, like, well, maybe if I can't find it, I could try and be it. Right. And we'll just see what happens. So I just started posting that way.
And you're like bringing people along on your journey too. It's like, you're finding these things and sharing them at the same time.
It was very natural. Like it wasn't like I'm going to switch my Instagram account. I just started posting like I'd been posting like that the whole time.
Sure. Well, I think it's you just kind of run with it. It's not like you have to go through a whole rebrand. It's like, is this something that I want to do? Let me try it. No. And maybe eventually I'll monetize this.
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't City of Shay. It was definitely like my first name. Yeah.
But I think it's like, I think that goes to this like, oh, maybe I should be this person, to like this curation thing that you found yourself involved in.
Yeah.
Was museum studies or like working, like doing museum stuff, like where did that passion or that interest come from?
I think it kind of goes back to the teaching thing and like the school thing, because I wanted to be a teacher because I loved school so much. And I was like, if I love school, what if I just stay in it forever? And then I realized like that's not teaching. That's like professoring basically.
Right.
So I was like, well, you know, I've always loved history. I love like the story. I was really into like local history, which also makes kind of sense now. I like Benjamin Harrison was my dream job. I still would love to work there.
I'm not gonna lie, you're the first person I've ever heard say that.
I loved house museums because I felt, you know, you can go to the IMA, you can go to the Children's Museum, you can learn history that way, or you can go into a space that you recognize.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, God willing, everyone has a home to like be familiar with, but to step into a space that you're able to like tangibly understand, I think is the most incredible way to learn history.
Yeah.
And house museums are that. You can be like, oh, here's a bed from the 1800s. Does it look like your bed now? No,
Right.
Here's why. And I just felt like that was such a fun way to like learn history and teach it to people. And I was like, well, if I don't want to like teach children in a classroom, like what if I can just, you know, step behind the like employees only door at a museum,
right,
and teach people that way and like get to touch things that nobody gets to touch.
100%. Well,
every time I go to a museum, I'm like, I'm allowed to touch that. I have
right, exactly.
I
have the badge. I have a badge here. The immersive aspect of something like Benjamin Harrison House is something that in America particularly, I feel like we don't do a good job of preserving all the time. And it's like you said, it's easy to go in the museum. Yeah, it's easy to go in the museum to see stuff. And it's like, okay, that's great. It's a great place to learn. But when you have the opportunity to kind of step into those spaces, it does make a big difference, I think. And I think it's interesting that you said Indy does a pretty good job of telling its own history, and I think we're getting a lot better about it because of people like Samson.
Right. Definitely different. Like, there's a specific kind of history.
Yes,
they're good at
100%, 100%. But for you, was like Ben Harrison like the piece of Indy or Indiana history that really grabbed you, or was there something that stuck out to you as you were studying, as you were going through this process? You were like, okay, maybe this is a place that I like really want to dive into that.
I think it was more just like the localness of it. Like it wasn't like I was, you know, a Ben Harrison fan.
You might be.
Big Ben Harrison girl. But I really just love that local aspect. Even like neighborhood history. I live in Lockerbie, so it's like so fascinating to learn about the area and like what it was like before, and like, oh, this building was a grocery store, now it's a house. Like just that stuff like just makes me so excited to like learn.
Yeah.
So kind of more of that, and I think just the like fact that like we could do that. And I interned at the art museum, so it was like to go from, I had only really interned in like house museums and like organizations with like 3 volunteer employees, to working at the IMA. It was like, this is a corporate machine. Like there's a department for a department. There is a department for the volunteers. Like it was kind of insane. And I loved my experience there, but I was like, no, I just like the tiny little house museums so much. So that was really interesting. But yeah, I feel like it's just the localness of it. And I feel like that definitely ties into what I do now really well.
Yeah. So what, I think it's so interesting to think about coming to a place that you've never been and like finding yourself falling in love with the history in that way. Where did you find yourself frequenting the most during that time? And is it still like, are those still the same places that you find yourself kind of going back to a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because I moved here when I was 20. Right. And I didn't turn 21 for a whole year. So for a whole year of grad school, my 26 and 28-year-old friends were like, see ya.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, okay, I got a library card and read like 100 books that year. Like, because I really couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But then once I turned 21, they were like, you can finally come to the Tap with us. So we went to the Tap all the time for trivia, which was great because it's right, you know, at the end of Mass Ave. Great starting point to explore the rest of that street. Bottleworks was not a thing when I moved here. So that was really awesome to see that kind of expand. It was just like the bus storage or whatever it was. And German Fest we went to every year. Still go to that every year now. But
Nice.
yeah, just like half liter, fun, just like restaurants. Like we were so down to like try everything because I don't think many of us were really from here.
Sure.
I think a few were from Fort Wayne, but I think there was maybe one out of like the 25 of us that were from like Indianapolis.
Okay.
So it was like we were all just kind of doing it together, which is a fun like niche tiny group. Like you can't not like each other,
right?
Because then it gets
you
awkward.
have to. Yeah.
But it was so fun to just like get all together and like have dinners at people's houses or like New Year's parties and like just be able to like explore different things together and like nerd out really hard on museums too.
100%. I got to go back to one thing.
Yes.
You said you live in Lockerbie. Have you been to Whispering Shelf? Yeah.
Yes.
The new bookstore.
Yes.
Or we're not talking about Whispering Shelf?
Oh, we love it.
Okay,
we love
good.
it a lot.
I do love it a
They're
lot.
so nice in there too.
Another thing I did want to say though is that when talking about local history, I was just part of a residency program at IUPUI for the arts and humanities. And we had an artist in from Houston, and he does stuff with pylons, talking about how neighborhoods come together in grids, which I thought was really interesting. But he talked about exploring the city and going to places, and he thought one thing that was really interesting about what we do in Indy is repurpose buildings. And so the reason I bring up Whispering Shelf is that that is another repurposed building.
Oh, yeah.
And like we have a lot of liveries, I guess, which have been like our horse stables,
Bottle
which I did not know.
Works. Yeah, Bottle Works is
like,
that Hotel Tango. Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. And like, is that something that you find yourself seeking out as you like learn history or explore the locality?
Yeah, I feel like it adds definitely like a level to like the experience of a place. Because I mean, like you said, in America, like we kind of just tear things down and make them parking lots or garages, which fine, but whatever. But yeah, I feel like that just makes the experience of Hotel Tango really fun, or like the vault being like the way it is, like having an actual vault, or like just all the speakeasies, especially like being in basements, and it's like, wait, was there like, or catacombs is a great example of that. It's like people want it to be like Paris and spooky and creepy, and it's like, no, it's just like storage for the city market. Like, but that's a fun thing to know, and it's still fun to like go and like explore them and
100%.
see them, and it knowing the like history of it really helps, I think, understand the space a little bit more, and kind of how people moved throughout the world back then, which is super fun to think about, because our city streets have not changed that much. Right. But the buildings have changed a lot, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting, because I think, like you said, like we don't, there's a certain history that gets told, and not always does it include some of these things. Like I'm learning about the Asian American community that's been here for a long time, and learning about like Willard Street, and like there was a strong like Syrian and Vietnamese population, I believe, that were there, early Chinese immigrants that were there, and just thinking about how do we continue to get back to that? Not that we want to go back there, but we want to recognize what it is, and that's one of the things I like about the stuff that you do, particularly in the City of Shay, is it all fuels, I think, the things that you're talking about and the places that you want to highlight. And I feel like it makes it relatable in a way that not every creator does, just because it's like, it's not always the focus of history. It's like maybe one thing or another thing. Yeah. How much do you utilize this history of the city, of the places that you're going to highlight within the work that you do?
I feel like I don't use it as much as I could. I always, like I say, like the digital curator thing, like it's helping me justify out of state student loans. But I really wanted to do like a Stories with Shay series. I like, because my name just goes with everything.
It kind of does.
Really helpful. That's why, because my first name's Haley.
Oh.
Shay's my middle name.
That's okay.
Hot take.
Exclusive.
Hate it.
Don't like it. All right.
Not hate it, but just it doesn't flow as well as City of Shay.
City
and
of
it just
Haley.
goes with everything.
No, yeah, you're right.
Like Get Away with Shay, Stories with Shay.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did that a couple times, but you do get people being very specific about like the content.
Sure.
Because I think I did like history of the Old North Side, because I lived in the Old North Side at the time, and I defined it different streets than other people would have defined it, and people get very specific about it, which is interesting. So stuff like that is fun, and it just takes a lot more time to like research, whereas like a top 10 list that I curate does not take as much time, but is still really valuable and really like educational for people. So
100%.
I wish I would do more of that, but maybe
Well, I mean, we have people like Samson. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, we all have like the lanes that we're in. I just think it's interesting the way, like the places that I see that have popped up on your feed and the stuff that you do and in the newsletter. Just knowing that there's a little bit of that history.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's a fun like tidbit that people like.
100%.
If you were to ask, like, why'd you move to Indy? Like, oh, for a master's in museum study.
Right.
Like, what? Like, why?
Well, it connects the dots.
It does.
Oh, man. Okay. So we went in different directions than I was planning on going. So when you started City of Shay, you're, immersing yourself in the city, you're highlighting these different things, but you're not like, this is a job. No. It's just something that I'm doing. Yeah. How did that start to come about? Like, how did that go from hobby to like freelance to what it is now? Yeah, it's been about 4.5 years. It'll be 5 years in September that I started blogging. And then in end of 2022 or 21, I can't remember because it was the end, I became an LLC. So between then and then, so like 2-ish years, that was kind of just like my networking era. Yeah. I made it a point to visit local businesses, buy from local businesses, show my face. Yeah. Kind of be like, hi, I exist. I don't shut up here either. I'm going to be in here a bunch. Yeah. And like just kind of posting organically. I just had a conversation with like Tuggles about like she scrolled up and screenshotted like you were excited about our opening in November of 2020 and messaged us about it. Nice. And I was like, oh, wow, that means a lot. Like, that's really cool. And like, we haven't really like ever worked together in a huge capacity, but like they're part of my holiday gift guides every year. And we support each other really well in that way. But so that was definitely like the era of doing that, just kind of showing face. Yeah. And being like, hey, I'm here. I'm a contender. I'm here to like kind of just help. Well, it's hard to talk about a place or a business or anything when you're not actually utilizing it or going there or frequenting it. Yeah. So I think it means a lot to them. For sure. And I mean, there's certain things that, like there's experiences or things I'll talk about that I like haven't done or like I'm excited to do. Sure. Or haven't like gotten to. But even so, it's like just having that time, I think, was so essential for 2 years to kind of just be like, hey, like I'm around. And like, yes, at that time I was doing like gifted product and just kind of like figuring out the influencer world too. Because at that time I would have definitely considered myself to be influencer. And then I kind of pivoted to be like, well, I really want to like be more of a guide. I want to be, I want it to be like visit Indy Today, me. Ooh, instead of like Carmel blogger, Westfield blogger, me. Like to me, it's a little bit different. When you look up things to do, I want it to kind of be in that order because to me that makes sense. Right. And luckily, it's not City of Shay, so I could like kind of franchise maybe someday if I had to move or like see if Chicago or Shayvana works or something. Dang. So it's like it's nice because I don't have to like be in one space, but I can take the model of what I've done, the networking, the making friends, the visiting local businesses, finding the resources on how to find things to do. Yeah. That'd be really fun to like try in a different city, like little sabbatical of Shay or something. Like, sabbatical of Shay. We got a lot of, hey, run this back, Mike, when you get to the editing and capture all these ideas that she's got. Make sure we're going to form a checklist and she's going to knock them all off. 50 states of Shay. It'll be great. I mean, you got a lot. That's a movie. That's a documentary right there. Little docuseries. That'd be fun. What was the learning process for like entrepreneurship and starting a small business like? Insane. I'm from a very academic background. Sure. I have my master's. I've always had a 9-to-5. My dad's a carpenter and my mom works in real estate, like front desk real estate, not like a realtor. Right. But so there are not many small businesses or entrepreneurs in my family. Sure. Nor is that what I went to school. They don't really teach you much about museum studies, entrepreneurship, business. I don't know. They really don't teach much. They teach you how to do like a strategic plan, which is kind of like a marketing plan, I guess. Sure. But you do a SWOT analysis. Yeah, we did a SWOT. But like that was kind of intense because I just basically did like YouTube University MBA. Okay. A lot of Googling. I think, especially since I started end of 2019, a lot of my comeuppance was COVID. Yeah. And I actually worked at unemployment during the time. I worked in appeals. So people were extra mad when they got to me. Yeah. So that was like my villain origin story, I guess. The times I wasn't working, I'd go home and I'd have days off. And from 9 to 5, I'd look up like Pinterest strategy or like hashtag strategy. Like I was always Googling something and like taking notes and trying to
pay for courses with my unemployment.
Yeah.
Like it was just a wild time. And then I like ended up working for a local hotel doing social media management, and then worked up to a marketing manager at a different hotel,
Nice.
Which is the position I just recently left. So
Just recently left.
wild.
Congratulations
Thank you.
on the full time.
But thank you. It's been insane to figure it all out and not really have anybody. I mean, that's how college was too. I was the first to go to college in my family.
Sure.
So it was like,
it's a lot of
why not
like,
just start a business too?
Yeah. The initial, like, I have to be the one that learns all of this.
Right. Which
to pass
stresses
on.
your parents out, especially only child. Like,
Sure.
they're like, what are you doing?
Why do you stay as the marketing director or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, like the marketing manager. Like, it makes sense to them because of manager in the title.
Yeah. I mean, my dad's like, as long as you're not dead, like, and you're happy, like, things are good.
As long as you're not
He's
dead.
like, I'm really happy about that. Like,
Thanks, Dad.
But my mom, she needed me to like run the numbers and tell her about health insurance and all that.
I think it's a good balance of parental roles.
Yeah.
Don't die. Tell me about the business.
Are you insured?
Yeah. Tell me about the business specifics.
That's mom.
Okay, so talk us through this pivot now to full time.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously not just starting your own business. Let me see the numbers, Mom. But like, hey, Mom, I'm actually leaving the full time world to be full time.
Yeah, I should have like gave her a PowerPoint night or something because she was well. Because I had my last day. It was like end of March, and the week before, like 2 weeks before I put my 2 weeks in, I was like, I have a family vacation coming up. Do I like bring the drama to family vacation and show up and be like 15 margaritas in, all inclusive? Guys, I quit my job. Yeah. I was like, maybe perhaps my life is not a movie, so I can't do that. But that was really wild because I think I had announced in December, like end of last year, I'm going to launch Socials of Shay. It was more of like a LinkedIn announcement to like kick myself in the butt and like, now it's out in the void, do it. My boss was like, we have some things to talk about. And she was like, we took this as a resignation. And I was like, oh, that's really dramatic. That's not at all what it was supposed to be.
Sure.
And not at all the vibe of the post at all. It was just like, hey, I'm launching a thing. Send me an email if you're interested. Like, that's all. But I did very similar work. So corporate kind of got involved. They were like, is this going to be a conflict of interest? Are you going to work with other like properties? And I was like, I'm kind of out of hotel management. Like, like, maybe it might be nice to try something new. And after a while, they were like, hey, yeah, we like did see this coming eventually. I guess we just didn't know when. I'm like, neither did I, honestly. Yeah. I just said I was going to do it. So now I have to do it. And they were actually really kind because in a situation where, I mean, it's corporate, like they could be like, see ya. Yeah. They were really kind in that they were like, we know this is going to happen. We know that you now kind of have a timeline. What do you need to like have us support that? What resources do you want to learn more about? Do you want to learn more paid ads? Do you want to learn about PR? You have, this international hotel chains marketing resources at your fingertips. What do you want to learn from your time here? And I thought that was so kind and generous of them to do and like to basically set me up to leave. Yeah. Which was really, really sweet.
Most corporations are not doing
love
that.
Them. They're really amazing people.
Oh, you started something that's going to be rival what we're already doing? You're out of here.
Which kind of, it was like, I don't have a restaurant client. That's like the closest thing I could think of. Like, I didn't, not that I didn't want to do hotels, but I just wanted to try something different. Yeah. Was
there a specific thing that you tapped into from them that they offered? That you've been like able to utilize as you've made this transition?
A lot of like marketing plan stuff, like just learning like social strategy, building a calendar. Because I mean, for the 2 years I was a monetized hobby. Yeah, I was just kind of not posting to post, but just like figuring it out. Yeah, I mean, obviously didn't learn this in museum school and all that. So there was a lot of stuff that was just like, wow, like brands and fonts and like making sure your logo has margin and you can't turn it sideways, like all that fun stuff is like, now I use that with my clients. I'm like, I want to make sure like your graphics are correct. Like I'm a brand like fanatic about making sure like things have the right color, font. Like I love all of that, which I feel like helps my clients a lot. And I don't think I would have had that like polish if I hadn't worked kind of in a corporate position where that was like standard.
Well, and then they turn around and give you a little bit of a foundation to build from, to continue. So it's not like you start from square zero again. It's like, okay, I'm going to continue to build up.
Right. And like there was no bad blood. Like we didn't leave with like any animosity. Like we just like cried on my last day. I'm like, we're going to miss you. And, like,
and who knows, maybe one day they're going to be like, hey, we need Socials of Shay right now to help us out.
That's, we'll see. But it was really beautiful, like bittersweet. experience.
What's been the most difficult thing? Well, so you've been 2 months, so you might not have a most difficult thing. You might have multiple most difficult things. But what's one thing that you're like, I want to work on this and get this in a good place?
I think the balance for sure, because I mean, I'm moving my 5 to 9 to 9 to 5, which has now turned into like 9 to 9. Which is so funny because when you're at work, you know, you're like a corporate job, you're like, oh, I'm running out of things to do. I'm so bored. And it's like when you work for yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's midnight. Like it's really weird how like fast that happens. And you're like, wow, like I was not like walking in purpose really. Like now that I am, I'm like, wow, that's crazy how your time fills. But finding that balance of like knowing when to, go touch grass or something like is really helpful. Honestly, the hardest thing has been when and how much to pay myself. Because I was not paying myself out of it. It was just going straight back into my business. And since I was 15, have been just dropped a paycheck in my account every 2 weeks by some person in the void. Thank you, accounting.
Thank you, direct deposit.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been really hard. And I'm like, that could maybe be as simple as me putting back in my calendar, like payday Friday.
Yeah.
But it's me. So having like, you know, an accounting day or something like that, that has been so hard for me. And I like have the money. Like I can pay myself. It's not the struggle. Is like the amount is not the struggle. The amount or the struggle is when and how much.
Yeah. It's so interesting you bring that up. I've just been thinking about that for myself. I'm not near the point of like, okay, I'm going to take a salary or whatever, a paycheck from the stuff that I'm doing. But I'm just thinking like, okay, when I get to that point, what is that? How do you do that? Like I've not worked with an accountant really. Like I do QuickBooks online.
Yeah, I do like simple. My taxes with somebody, but it was so weird to be like, oh, it's me. And I like can't fire me. So like, what do I do now? The stress.
Was it so strange feeling to do, but how freeing is it to be able to do that and not be reliant on this other person, other entity?
Yeah, it's been really nice. I think, I mean, I was always very good at being like told what to do. It's so weird because I'm like, I don't consider myself much of a leader in like a general aspect of leadership. Like I love to be just like following along, like making sure people are like getting things done for people.
Sure.
Which I feel like is good for social media management because like they're leading you to take care of them.
So you are a leader in a way.
Apparently. But I've just never like considered myself that. So that's been interesting. But it's been, sorry, I like totally lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. No, it's just like how like, I guess I said, how freeing is it? To be able to just like, I can pay I literally am doing well enough to be able to pay myself a little bit and still invest.
It's been really, really nice to kind of have that time. I mean, like I was just getting my hair done at like 10 o'clock on a Thursday one day. And I was like, I would have had to take PTO for this. Like to get my hair done. That's weird. It's just weird to think like, and I'm trying to like kind of keep that humility of it all of like, wow, what a blessing to be able to like go get my hair done at 10 a.m. on a Thursday. Like that is an extreme blessing. And I've worked really hard to like get to that point. But that's just been crazy to like have that time. And like, I feel like it's opened me up to like have time to do so much more.
Yeah.
And that's been really, really sweet. Because, I mean, I would not have been able to have the amount of clients I have, which isn't a lot, but it's enough to be fine.
Right.
I would not have been able to do that I was working 3 full-time jobs, basically, for like
much.
the last 4 years.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so interesting I think that's the biggest difference between like new entrepreneurs and like what is perceived as success and failure is the ability to understand, it's a big privilege to be able to pursue this and not have to go work not only just a 9 to 5, but a minimum wage job where you're not going to be able to pay for anything, you know, and going from like paycheck to paycheck to literally being like, okay, is the next paycheck going to be enough to get me to where I want to go? And I think we can forget that mindset when we get the first check or we can move out of that mindset of like, I've made it now.
Right.
And it's like, well, I've made one move and there's more steps to be taken.
Even on stories, I'm very careful now to be like, I am no longer as relatable as I used to be.
Sure.
Because the majority of my followers probably have a 9 to 5.
Sure.
Which is fair. That's normal. And I'm like, I need to be cognizant of like, this is not the norm for everybody. And like getting your hair done at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday is really odd for my people who work in corporate. Like it's not their reality. And it's almost like a slap in the face to people that have like been there the whole time to be like, I'm totally new and different now. And it's like, no, I'm trying to like keep really aware of like how I'm communicating that. But it seems like people are really excited to like learn what's next. And
100%.
That's been fun. But I'm just trying to be really careful on like, hey, I'm still like corporate girly, like deep down I still have to put payday Friday on my calendar, even though it's me.
Yeah. What is an ideal day look like for you now? Again, thinking about this in the context of 2 months into full-time like entrepreneurship.
Luckily, one of the resources I asked for right before I left, I had never tried time blocking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was just weird with like school and everything that I never dabbled. So that was a really big thing. And so I kind of divvied out each day on each like task. So like Mondays were like social days, Tuesdays were email newsletter days. That has helped a lot. I don't keep the same exact structure now, but especially now that I have clients, so that's a little bit different. But I try and keep like meetings and client things Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Mondays are definitely like content batching. Wednesdays I do like content research, like I go through all the things I've saved in the past like month. Thursdays I try and like pitch, or like it's a lot of like Canva kind of day.
Yep. I have Canva days too.
Canva day, just like the editing kind of day, and then Friday's like just whatever didn't get done. That's ideal.
Okay. That's ideal week.
Like gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful happens never.
Never. But if it could.
I think that has actually been a big struggle too, is like the spontaneity of it all. Is like I'm so used to like on Wednesdays you have this meeting with corporate and that happens every single Wednesday unless there's a holiday, and it's like then you go from a client might call you and need something, and like all my clients are on the north side, I'm downtown, so it's like to meet with them just to like exchange a hard drive is like an hour of my time. I'm like, that was when I was gonna like post. So just kind of being able to pivot has been really, I think, important to learn, and I think getting less stressed about like the day that I wrote down at the beginning of the morning, hour by hour, did not exactly happen as it did. Oh no, that's pretty normal for everybody. Like,
it's just like things happen, and we can roll with the punches. Exactly, PR not ER. That's a good one.
Nobody's gonna die if I don't post on Instagram.
Hopefully not.
I might.
So what about your support system as you go through this transition? I feel like it's hard enough to do as just an individual person who doesn't have like a team to rely on.
Just
so like you need to kind of have those people in your corner who like can be removed from the business aspect of it.
I think that's like the only reason I'm doing any of it. I mean, my friends from school that were like, why don't you try this thing? And like, I've lost a lot of friendships through the process, which has been really tough, and a lot of therapy content, which is fine. But it's been interesting to kind of see like a lot of people don't understand the whole process. And I, at the beginning, was on my phone a lot. And I was like, I'm trying to build something. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. And I think that requires me being on my phone a lot. And I'm like, sorry that it has to be that way. And I don't understand it just as you don't. But the people that have kind of stayed and been in my corner, even my mom, who like, she's my top fan on Facebook. So every time she's like, I can't believe you went full time. I'm like, it's your fault. You're the top fan. You created this monster. Like, look what you've done, Lisa.
Come on, Lisa.
Lisa Marie, she's great. But I mean, and just like my boyfriend, he has been like, I know you have a flower section, but like that's what I was going to say is he's just been so immensely, like it can make me cry, just so supportive. Because I mean, I've dated so many people that think what I do is stupid, a waste of time, vain, like doesn't make sense to them, or like they like the fun free parts. Like the hotel stay. They like to be the plus one, but they don't like to like. When you're, Yes, exactly. They don't like when you whip your phone out to take a picture of the food. I'm like, I'm just trying to support local businesses.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure we can get back here.
Or like, they're like, ma'am, this is a Wendy's. I'm like, local people work here. Like, I'm trying to support them.
I like that.
But just the fact that he's been the catalyst for a lot of like the past 6 months of what's happened in my life is like, he was the one that was like, post it, see what happens. Like, why don't you like do people's social media? Like, I've never had someone be so like, not even be so, but like to see my potential before I see it. He's been so incredible about like seeing it and then speaking into it. And that's been just really, really special. So.
That's super profound to find somebody who knows you in that way or who gets you in that way. Yeah. Like I feel like I have that relationship with my wife. It's just like I've known very few people who actually can see through the masks that I've always had on for a number of reasons, but who can kind of break that down, like you talked about, with your family and Abby. Sorry, Abby. Yeah. Sorry, Abby. But Abby. Just like somebody who can break you down outside of the business, outside of the work, and find the humanity in you.
And he's very honest. I mean, like, it's just I've never been with someone like that, and it's been crazy to be like no, I can't do that. He's like, yeah, you can and you will.
Mm.
Like, do better.
You will do it.
Like, he's very honest,
I like
which is
it.
great.
Honesty is great. We love honesty. We love transparency.
I'd rather him be honest than be like, no, it looks great, babe.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make you basically repeat all of this because I think it's a great segue to the segment we have on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, sponsored by Frida's Flowers, where guests take a second to shout out someone or something that they feel deserves their flowers right now. So, Shay, who would you like to give their flowers to?
Him, Jacob. It helps, too, that he does very similar stuff. So he's in the content world, too. But yeah, just the support has been insane. And then my network, like, insane. Like, we haven't really, we kind of touched on it, but like, I have never had to cold pitch a client. I have never had to fight my way to a meeting with somebody. I have had everything just kind of dropped into my lap from a few very great people. I mean, like, Indy Felice is a really great friend, colleague, like just an amazing all-around person, has gotten me like most of my clients. He just texted me and I'm like, Ian, you have to stop. Like, I don't have room in my retainer anymore.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I don't have, you can only have so many accounts on Instagram that you're in control of. Casey Harrison has been an amazing resource and just like cheerleader for what I do.
She's
and
awesome. She's
really kind of seen what I'm doing and seen the bigger picture of like, you're not, and not that being an influencer is bad, but I think they're actually really vital to like our economy.
Sure.
But just she saw like, you, that's not you, and like that's not what you're here to do, and that's not what people are seeing you do. Yeah. So her speaking into that has been really special. So probably them. For
awesome.
Sure.
Jacob, Ian, Casey. All right, we might cut this, but we're going to start keeping these at one, maybe, because Madeline's been really incredible in sending flowers to the people who get really shouted out. Didn't know that she was doing that, but she was doing that on her own. So that's amazing. But yeah, we're going to try and get flowers out to everybody right there. So wonderful. I appreciate that. Shout out Frida's. Don't wait to elevate your floral game. FridasFlowersIndy.com to learn more. Gorgeous. I've got a little bit more that I want to cover with you. Yeah. Some fun stuff. Okay. First question is, you're an Iowan turned Indiana in yourself. First off, I'm a Boilermaker. Okay. I have a really hard time identifying as a Hoosier because
it's a weird word.
Because of IU. See, he gets it. But it's just like, so I said Indiana. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this question. What advice do you have for Caitlin Clark? To help her get acclimated to the city.
Well, she should hit me up. We should get coffee.
This is a connection right here.
Yeah, I feel like she should find some balance, take some time off. I feel like she'd like enjoy like a park or something. Okay. Like I feel like she might need to unplug.
Which park would you suggest she's
Highland.
Absolutely. We live right down the road from Highland.
That's where I had my birthday this year.
Hey.
So absolutely Highland Park or Holiday. Great hikes.
Yep.
Eagle
Holiday
Creek.
Park is great.
Yeah. I feel like that'd be a good way to like decompress but still be active.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be what our girl needs.
I like it. Kaylin, get out there. Yeah. I'll see you tonight at the game. But let's get you connected. Let's figure out how we can do Iowa to Indiana and make it happen.
Just gotta find the right people.
100%. You just have to find the right people.
It's a small
town. It's a small, big town. Okay, one other thing you said at the very beginning was when you got here, you felt like, oh, I've made it to the big city. You're the second person who's not originally from here who's come on the show and said that about being here. Demel Bolden said Indy was the big stage. And I was like, I love this show for these conversations, for those types of bits, because it's like, again, outside perspective, I'm not necessarily thinking about Indy that way, but it is.
I've been to Chicago plenty. That's not my city.
Like, not my city either. Not my city. We lived there for 3 years and it's not my city, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right. Next fun thing that I want to ask you is you've talked a little bit about your list making, having the top 10. I was wondering if you'd be okay if we made Shay's definitive list for 2024 part 1.
No.
Because this is only June.
This is so stressful.
I have 12 categories that I want to name, and I want you to just hit me with the first thing that pops in your head.
Like rapid fire.
Yeah, just some rapid fire stuff.
No explanation.
No pressure. You don't have to explain
explainer.
Like, I mean, if you want to, you can, but you don't have to. Since we have 12 things.
I'm going to force myself not to.
All right. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Shay's definitive list, 2024, part 1.
Okay.
Book.
Like favorite book?
Whatever you want to say. First thing.
Like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Book. Get it at Whispering Shelf.
I love it. Lunch spot.
Ooh, Gather 22.
Okay, brunch spot.
Gallery Pastry Bar.
Shout out.
No, Gallery Bistro and Bar now.
Gallery Bistro and Bar. Shout out Gallery Bistro and Bar. Post-work meetup with your friends on a Wednesday spot.
St. Joe's.
St. Joe's. Okay, you're keeping it real local to yourself. I like that. First date spot.
I love like coffee walk. So like Java House, Monon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Great
a good
first
one.
date. Low effort.
I like it. I like that a lot. I like that Java spot too. That's a great location.
Monon's easy.
Yeah.
You can escape if needed.
Non-alcoholic beverage.
Anything from Lauren's AF, but I love spiritless whiskey, which is actually from Louisville. So
Okay.
Very
All
good.
right. Well, we're gonna cut that. But no, I'm just kidding. Coffee brand.
Brand. Wow. Tanker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's my favorite right now too. So
Yeah.
Tinker. Fancy dinner.
That one's Modita.
Okay.
Modita.
All right. We'll talk about that later. Hiking trails.
Oh my goodness. So I did like state parks. Like I tried to do
Yeah.
all 25 last year. I made it to 18. I had my like wild
that's pretty
Cheryl
good.
Strayed moment.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I really loved Prophetstown.
Okay.
I loved that it was not like the Brown County or the Turkey Runs.
Sure.
It was like not as foresty. It's very like ice age prairie.
Yeah.
Which I guess was like like home. And my family's from Kansas, so it might have reminded me of that.
Okay.
But I loved it. It's beautiful. There's like vistas you can just see over the whole like thing, and it's right near Purdue, so you can just enjoy it there.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a while. I gotta get back
up there. I thought it was really beautiful. So.
Yeah. Late night snack.
Cluster truck probably, or wow, that's my qualm with Indy. If I had to like talk crap about Indy, there's not a lot of late night.
There isn't.
Why does Shake Shack on Mass Ave close at 10 on a Friday?
10. Yeah, I think most restaurants, most places with food, kitchens close at 10.
And now that I'm like working till 9 p.m., I'm like, ooh, food. So I think I do cluster truck a lot.
Yeah, I find myself having frequented the gas stations too much. So I'm trying not to do that anymore. Two more. Place to watch the sunrise.
Ooh, sunset would be Highland. Sunrise, probably White River.
White River?
Yeah.
Okay. Any particular area?
Like right near the amphitheater, there's like this like tiered rock situation. Yeah.
Yep. The tiered rocks.
The tiered rocks.
Last one, favorite stretch of the Monon.
Ooh, either the Provider one, because that's the closest I'm to, or the Broad Ripple one.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got a bike.
Yeah.
So I'm like very ambitious. I'm kind of like a completist, so I want to try and bike the whole thing.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes.
Bike it all the way up and then back,
like
or just up there? Give me a ride. Jacob, come pick me up.
Yeah, no, it might be. No, he's gonna probably be passing me on the way.
Yeah,
he's into also completing things. But yeah, probably like take the backpack with the laptop and bike to like Indy Coffee Roasters or something.
Yeah,
so that'd be fun. But
all right. Well, I appreciate you doing that. That's Shay's definitive list of indie things for 2024, part one. Would you believe me if I told you I had about 30 things on here and I cut it down? Because I was like, I don't think we're going to have enough time for all these.
That's how my life is.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. All right. I just got a few more things that I want to ask before we wrap up here. And again, I just want to say I appreciate you, giving me your time, giving me a little bit of your story, and
weird.
answering some of these questions.
From
I appreciate
unemployment
it.
to self-employed, really.
Hey, I like it. It's a journey that a lot of us have taken on the show.
I think so.
Like, how do we go from not surviving corporate life, but like just existing there to like finding the passion, the why of what you want to do and pursuing it. Because not everybody, again, has the privilege or opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
And like Casey said to you, influencing, influencer might be the word people throw around with you, but it's not the work or the why or the passion of what you do. And we need more people to pursue those passions and articulate the whys. Yeah. Because then it empowers people who are like, oh, I want to do this, to be like, oh, maybe I can.
Yeah.
And to pursue that.
For sure.
So unrelated to all of that, someone's just moved here. Ooh. Advice on connecting with the city.
I think if you're very business minded, I would maybe join like YPCI. It's a great way to kind of meet other young professionals. And it's Young Professional Central Indiana. A lot of people who are just starting out in their career, work in pretty similar industries as everyone else, that it's like kind of moving here. That's been really fun to go to, especially when I was in corporate. Silent Book Club, I think, is actually really perfect. Kelsey. Yes. That is such a fun way, especially if you're kind of more introverted or like you're just new here and you don't know anybody, or you like knew a couple people, you can bring friends. But what a great way to like get to like sit and do your little hobby, like reading, and then maybe mingle with people, or hot walk Indy, like hot walking.
There you go.
Not for just the girls.
Not for just the
Hot Walk
girls.
for all. So
I know. I need
I
to
feel
do
like those
a hot
three
walk.
groups are really, really doing things. And I think especially YPCI has been announcing so many really cool events and just ways to connect. I think, I mean, it's kind of hard to like be an extrovert and tell people like, just get out there and it'll be fine.
Sure.
Like, because I understand that's not everyone's reality.
Yeah.
So most people's reality is they don't know anybody and they're
Well,
not
and it's hard to
comfortable
like,
taking the time.
That's one of the reasons I'm so inspired by you is like seeing that this person who is able to go out and do the things. Milan Ball is somebody else who I really like am inspired by doing those types of things and hearing her talk about it. Of just like sometimes you got to put yourself out there,
really
even if you are introverted a little bit more like myself. It's just like if you can find a way to find your people or put yourself in a position to find them. Yeah, exactly.
Like I always say, this town is like small enough. There's always something to do, but big enough that it's not overwhelming. Like,
exactly.
There's always something. So.
Exactly. And for someone who's visiting, so we've recently had a spate of big events. We had the All-Star game, but we were just in the playoffs. Caitlin Clark just got drafted. What else is happening right now? U.S. Olympic swimming trials are here.
500 had a
just
long
here. The
day.
500, yeah. Like we've just had a ton of stuff that people are coming in for.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just in a moment in the city of just like, what do we have to offer and having the chance to offer that to people.
Yeah.
For somebody visiting, one thing they have to do while they're here. Different than the three things that you listed for people who've just moved here and need to connect.
I would say like a walk and talk. I feel like if you're going to come here and like experience it, like why not learn? I mean, like, sounds bad. Like, don't go to a museum. Like, but like, he's a walking museum. He's a living,
really
breathing
is.
museum. So it's like he's literally like living history.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be really exciting to experience. My mom wants to get the mimosa towers at Gather, so that's what we'll be doing.
There you
she
go.
visits in a couple weeks.
Mimosa towers in history.
Yeah.
And walk and talks.
Hot walking for sure.
I love it.
Yes.
Shout out Samson. We were just laughing about it earlier
a
when you first
gem.
brought him up, but
My bad.
I think on the like 12 or so episodes we've done in Indy, 7 of them have had a Samson
counter.
mention. Yeah.
Like a shot for every
We're
Samson.
going to come up with some content for that. But
Yep.
again, Shay, thank you so much for sharing everything you shared, for sharing your story and just how you've gotten to where you're at now. And congratulations on all your success.
you.
Also, congratulations on the hard launch of your relationship on Instagram with Jacob.
Really who?
I saw people mentioning that, so I had to mention it.
Yeah, a couple people were like, congrats.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, it did look like an engagement announcement. I'm not going to lie. I was like,
I didn't think about
now.
that when I picked out all white outfits.
It's all right. I mean, it happens.
I like a little drama.
The spontaneity of the moment.
Yeah. It's organized chaos. I organized it.
I like it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And last but not least, for people that are watching, who are listening right now, as we leave this conversation, best way to support you, best way to find you, follow you. How do we do that?
Yeah, obviously City of Shay or Socials of Shay. Socials is more if you're looking for management. I also offer just like one-on-one consulting. I just dropped content creation packages. So if you're not looking for consulting or management, that's a nice way to just kind of like, I don't have time for video, I'll come in and do it for you. So that's kind of what I offer there. And then City is, just the resources of how to enjoy your life here. Got everything from a biweekly email newsletter, YouTube channel. I'm trying to get together an ebook of all those top 10s.
Nice.
So
we got a new one right now.
Annual, annual maybe publication of sorts of
there you go.
Things close, hours change, addresses change. I mean, it's Gallery Bistro and Bar now, not Gallery Pastry Bar. So just little edits like that, I think could be fun to make an annual thing. But talk to me when that's done, because that's been a lot of not time to do that.
I mean, that's a great expansion of product offering, I think, with what you're doing. And I think that's one thing that we didn't touch on is the monetization aspect of it, of like all the different ways that you find. And I think another thing that I really enjoy about the work you do is just the out of the box way that you go about creating and doing what you do.
It's been really fun, especially for somebody that didn't go to school for this, and not that you have to. I mean, Jacob too is a great example of didn't go to school. He's doing amazing. Same sort of industry. So,
well, I appreciate us being in similar circles. I appreciate everything that you're doing, not only for yourself, but for the city. And can't wait to do more.
Perfect. Thank
Absolutely. For everybody else out there, episodes drop of this show every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Conversation Pod Peace. Go to our website, conversationpeacepod.com, to catch up on the archives, all the latest episodes. I got stuff cooking, merch stuff specifically. So be on the lookout for that. Shout out to Mike Lee on the cameras, John Overton and Popular Rapture on the mics and the sound, Zane for sitting in and being a great spectator, and to Shay for being an incredible guest and an amazing person.
Thank you.
Me
too.
Like I said, thank you. Lots of stuff coming up, but until then, I've been the titular Patrick, and this has been Conversation Piece.